Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got former 1% club member, Bob. What's up, Bob?
Hey, Bill, how are you, man? Good to meet you again.
Biker News Canada.
Biker News Canada.
Shout out to Biker News Canada. Make sure you guys go subscribe to his channel, Biker News Canada. So, you were a former outlaw member, and you were talking, and you said that we were talking about London, Canada, and you said you went out to England.
Yeah. So when we spoke last time, we had a great interview, but I missed a whole big part of the story. So, and keep in mind, everything happened for me fast once I joined the club, like really fast. It seems like those guys got shot one April, and the following April, they had the guys that they claimed did it in custody. And well, the guys that did it, let's face it, they beat the charges. I can say it that way now. So they had them in custody by the following April, and I was already a full patch member. And when those guys got shot the April before, I was still in the hang around stage. So in that year that took them to make the arrest and find these guys, I started to probate and got my full patch. And then in that time, my sponsor, Bandit, him and I decided to go to Daytona because I'd never been to Daytona before. And the Outlaws are pretty prevalent down there, right? So, and him and I have been hanging out with the guys from the Detroit chapter at that time. And so we got a hold of them, and they held a couple guys back for us, and we came over and joined them, and went down in a van with a trailer with a couple bikes on the back because we left in a snowstorm. Even if you're outlaws, you're not riding through the snow to go to Daytona.
What were the Detroit guys like?
So the Detroit guys were. There's a couple of them, man. I really, really, really loved hanging out with them guys. There's a young guy. He was in like a thrash metal band called Killing Floor, and they were producing CDs and stuff. Man, this guy was really cool. And then there was the old timers, because like I said in the last interview, when Taco was the guy, a lot of the power base shifted to Detroit because that's where he was from. So not saying that that's where they put everything, but so there's the older heads that have been there 30 years. They're telling you outlaw history like probably they lived it, man. Like, these guys are cool.
So when Taco was on the run, was he still in power in Detroit and throughout the outlaw community?
Yeah, as far as I know, yes. Yeah. Again, it was early in my career, so I wasn't privy to that kind of information really. But we kept going in the same direction and all that, so nothing changed from our end. Him being on the run, I mean.
Yeah.
So then when the cops arrested these two brothers and charged them for shooting our two guys, William, Mr. J, they bless you guys. And I was hanging out at the clubhouse one afternoon with a couple of the guys and kind of leaning on the fence. We kind of had a spot so we could look over the fence and look up and down the street. And this dude comes wandering by, and he holds me out a piece of paper. And me, because I'm feeling pretty cocky and I got my patch, I'm the smartest guy in town now, I grab it off him. I go, "What's this?" He goes, "Open up, you'll see you've been served." I go, "Served what?" He goes, "Open up and see." He said, "I've done my job, I'm leaving." Open up, and we call the prosecuting attorneys up here the Crown Attorney, because they represent the Queen at that time, the King now. So the Crown had witnessed me. So that was my subpoena to be a witness for the prosecution on the double murder charge. Now I'm a 1%er at this point. It's like, well, I can't do that. So I'm like,
yeah, it doesn't matter if it's your friend or your brother that got killed. It does not matter. You're not testifying, right?
Yeah, man. It's a non-starter. If you get up there on the stand, and it was pretty bad. Like even back in the days, um, if you're running a bail hearing on a charge, you couldn't take the stand at your own bail hearings to get out. Taking the stand was taking the stand. So
Wow.
yeah, so I don't even think at a trial. That's why you see a lot of guys with patches taking a deal or something off. You know what I mean? Because you can't get on that stand because once you're on the stand, you're out of control because you don't know what they're going to ask you. Or how they're going to twist you around so that maybe you're going to end up saying something you shouldn't have. So the blanket rule was no witness stand.
Is it still that rule? Do you know?
I got no idea. I think it's actually a good rule for safety.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But in some aspects, it's probably not. Like, what if you're in a car accident, right?
Well, exactly.
And you got to sue somebody for the insurance? Can you make a statement then or no?
Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? But I know in the criminal courts, the answer is no. Maybe there's a distinction between criminal courts and civil courts. Who knows, right? But yeah. That see, there's always these little interesting rules that you really don't think about, and even when you're in the club and it happens, you don't think much about it. You just go by whatever the rule is and keep moving, right?
They say about calling 911 too, right?
Yeah,
You're not supposed to call 911.
yeah. If there's a 911 call off your phone, it better be a butt dial. And even then, because there's a lot of guys back in the day that were talking about what's the name, Sonny down there in Arizona near the end, allegedly 911 his old lady.
Yeah. She had a
So
medical issue or something and she needed an ambulance and he called 911, but they were having a domestic dispute and he got in big trouble for that 911 call.
well, he could have had his shit pulled. By rights, maybe he should have. I don't know. It's not my club, so I won't speak on somebody else's club. But well, actually, the night that my buddies got shot, sorry, um, when I came back in the bar, I got somebody else to call the ambulance. I didn't call it, and that was a conscious decision. You know what I mean? It was like, don't get him to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in case it ever comes out somewhere down the road. You know what I mean?
So how far into you being in the club are you served with this paper?
I think maybe I'm under a year still. You know what I mean? Like I'm in the months still. I'm still counting my months. And and so I get that, and then I'm stressing right out, right? Because I got my house that's got to have the mortgage and the bills paid for. I got the club that I just got my full patch for. I really don't got a whole bunch of money to go on the lam. It's expensive as hell to go on the run, right? And it's not like we had chapters all across Canada where I could go to maybe another province and hang out. And I'm talking to my bros, and they're like, well, as soon as you get bored, you can pop your head out, and they're gonna grab you anyway. That's okay. So then, if they get me to the courthouse and I refuse to take the stand, then what happens? Well,
Go
then
to
they
jail.
they
Yeah.
charge you with contempt, and you go to jail.
Yeah.
I said, well, that don't sound like a good idea either, right? So,
Mhm. So
so
what's
I
your plan?
I borrowed some money, and my sponsor there said, remember them two guys from England that we got along real good with in Daytona? I said, yeah. He says, you remember their names? I said, yeah, of course. He says, do you remember where they said they were from? I said, yeah, of course. So we did a little research into it, and we didn't phone anybody. We didn't tell anyone on this side of the ditch I was leaving. We didn't phone anyone over there so I could get through the airports, right?
Yeah.
Next day, the cops had it in their head that I was coming. So beautiful. Let them play with that, right? So the one day they call me up and they go, okay, the preliminary hearing starts tomorrow. You got to be there at 9. I'm like, yep. Okay, man, I'll see you tomorrow at 9. Okay, that's great. And then that night I went to Pearson and I jumped on the first plane that had a seat and went to Heathrow. Bam, I was in England. Yeah, what a
Now,
trip.
were these two guys? Were they in the club?
So they were in that club from England that I was explaining to you. Had called themselves Outlaws, but they didn't have the same back patch and the colors weren't the same. They weren't black and white. And actually looked at it, if you're looking at them, that they were going to end up being banditos because banditos had a big presence in Europe at that time. And we had some Scandinavian countries and maybe some chapters in Belgium, I believe, and that was about it.
But there
So
were
these,
no legit outlaws in London.
not in England at the time, no. So, you know, kind of along the way, I was kind of giving a message. You know, just keep your eyes open and tell us your honest opinion about these guys and whatever. And when I was done the trip, the guy who was in charge of Canada at that time was waiting for me at the clubhouse, and Bandit and the Hammer came and got me at the airport, and the boss was waiting for me at the clubhouse. And that was the first thing he asked was, "Are those guys ready?" And are they running a good ship over there? Little did I know he'd been there before, and some other guys had been there before. So this whole thing had been courted for a long time, right?
Yeah.
But I show up in London. I don't really know. All I know is that the name on the back of their jacket said Leicestershire, and it's spelt all fucked up, but you pronounce it Leicestershire, and and I knew their names. So I got into Heathrow in the middle of the night. Went downtown London, England, and grabbed a McDonald's and grabbed a room and went to bed. Right, I was tired.
Did you have your patch with you?
Mm-mm.
You didn't bring it.
No, I didn't bring it because I was going through too many customs, and the fact that I was kind of supposed to be doing something else for the crown, I thought I might not make it through. Even at customs, they were pretty easy breezy because my mom was born in Britain, so they said, where are you going and what are you doing? And I showed up with a one-way ticket. He said, why do you only got a one-way ticket? I saw you buy the return ticket when I'm done because I don't know how long I'm staying. He goes, well, how long are you staying? I said, I don't know. I said, I guess as long as you let me. He said, well, I'll stamp you in for 6 months. So he let me stay for 6 months. And I think mainly because I told him that my family was British, and I named a couple British cities in England and said that's what I was going to go check out. And that was good enough for him. So I wake up next morning, and I before I left Canada, I borrowed some money off one of the brothers in the club. You can't show up with your pockets totally empty. I need somewhere to stay, right? That's not cool. Maybe if it was your own club, you could do that, but these guys weren't really our true club brothers yet. It's not a good look. So when I was taking the subway from Heathrow into the city, I struck up a conversation with a couple, and they were from there, and there happened to be a map of the rail system for England over there, and they got a pretty cool rail system. You don't need to own a car to live over there, eh?
Yeah,
It's a small country, like square footage wise. So they explained to me that Leicestershire is a county, and Leicester is the city inside of that county. They're spelled the same. Just one's got the word sheer at the end. That means it's a county. I think they do that for a lot of their places because we had another chapter in a place called Derbyshire, and the city was Derby, and they're all spelled the same. So they explained to me what to do. I stayed, I don't know, Piccadilly Circus or whatever in London, England. And they explained to me what platform to go to, what ticket to buy. I bought a ticket. So then the next afternoon, I'm in the city where they live now. I'm getting closer. I still haven't called nobody. I don't want to call nobody and just make it awkward or whatever, right? Because if the cops are looking for me and I know I hang out with you every day, they're going to bust your ass every day until you convince me to go turn myself in, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's how they work. So I didn't want to put my guys into that sort of situation for God knows how long because we didn't know. And and I got from off the train and jumped into a taxi. I said, just take me to a biker bar, a bar where bikers will be, a strip joint, whatever. And he just takes me to a pub. I walk in, there's nobody in the fucking place. I go to the bartender, I go, if I was an outlaw, where would I be right now? And he gives me a funny look, like, who the fuck's this guy, right? And he's got, because they're in Britain, they think he's got an American accent. So who's this Yankee? What's he want? And he said, well, hang on, I'll call one for you. I said, that'd be great. Grab me a beer. I had a beer. He made a phone call. This little dude comes in. He's wearing overalls and he's all got all grease on him and shit. Obviously, he's a working man. And he kind of stops in. Just a little good fella, too. Kez was his name. Great guy. And he yells, who the hell here? There's only me in the whole joint, right? He yells, who the hell here is looking for an outlaw? So I get up off my bar stool. I go, this fucking outlaw is looking for an outlaw. He goes, what? So I blew his mind, made his day. He's like, what the hell? Who are you? What's going on? I give him a rundown, tell him the story. He's like, all right, get in. We jump in his work van. He takes me to the clubhouse. Just like that, man. It was so cool.
Wow.
He called up, what was their names? It was, Kearney and, oh, shit, I don't want to miss his name. Kearney and what was the other guy's name? I think it started with an F. I'll get it. It'll come to me while we're talking. That was the two guys that were in England. So along the way, he whipped out a cell and he called, what do I want to say, Fruity? I don't think it's Fruity, though. These guys have funny nicknames, though, man. Kez, Kearney, and, come on, tall, thin guy, really good guy. Hey, it'll come to me. So he called him and he said, did you meet this guy in Daytona and blah, blah, blah. And he said, yeah, I take him to the clubhouse. And that was it. I was in.
So what's it like when these guys finally come to the clubhouse and you're talking to them? Do you tell them what's going on?
Yeah. So I tell them what's going on just in case they want me not there. You know what I mean? In the case they're up to something or they got their own kind of steam or whatever, but they were all good with it. They called, obviously somebody called back to Canada and to ban it and got the, that's. And it was just the start of the prelim. So you know how it goes, prelim, great big 4, 5, 6 months recess. And then they run the trials. And it was a double murder. Plus they had some old drug charges and they all got lumped into one trial. So I didn't know how long I was going to be there at all. It could have been years, right?
Yeah.
I showed up with like $5,000 Canadian. By the time you switch that into British pounds, you don't have much left.
Really?
Yeah, it's like 2.5 Canadian dollars to make 1 British pound.
Oh yeah, it's just like American money. When you switch it over, you get less money, right?
Yeah. So I started out with 5,000 Canadian. The guy lent me, and I think when I switched it over, I had a couple thousand, and I didn't know how long I was staying.
Oh man.
So I was like, listen, it looks like you guys are all working. Smart guys. That's what I love about going to other countries and other places to see what that they do for an income and how they swing it. So these guys, not the whole chapter, but some of the chapter, invested in the auto salvage business. That's the perfect business for people like us. You know what I mean? So if one maybe gets nicked off the street, but maybe you needed that Mercedes motor, it comes in after hours and you got a Mercedes motor for your customer, whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's a good business, I'm sure, the Italian mafia and all those places have done all these sort of ventures over the years too. You know what I mean?
Of course.
There's not too many.
Roy DeMeo was shipping cars overseas.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
he was. He
they're
must have
big.
been the original shipping cars overseas because he was dead a long time, isn't he?
Yeah. That was in the 80s, I believe.
Wasn't he the guy they called Crazy Joe?
No, Roy DeMeo.
Oh, okay.
He had the Gemini the Gemini crew, and they were shipping a lot of cars overseas. They worked for Big Paul Castellano.
Well,
And,
they say
and, you
that
know,
the Italian mafia and Montreal allegedly is back into that because they got the docks back again.